Hello, I'm Dr. Klodt, and here is your guide to common errors in MLA formatting for your written work in my courses this semester. First, please review my video on MLA formatting at klodt.link/MLA video. As you learned in this first video, MLA formatting is all about details. You must show that you can master these formatting details in your academic writing. So let's review some common MLA formatting errors. Pay careful attention to headers. Students are often laser focused on the content of your writing, which is laudable, of course. But your focus on content may cause you to overlook the basics of page formatting. For example, in the upper right corner of the page, insert the page numbers header. Write justify your last name and insert the page number. Page numbers will then run consecutively on each page of your essay. Every modern word processor lets you restart page numbers from page 1 at the beginning of each essay. However, in my courses, since we use one Google Doc in which we collect all of your essays, it is perfectly acceptable to start numbering at page 1 on the first page of your Google Doc, and then let the page numbers run consecutively throughout the document for the rest of the semester. In other words, in this digital document, it is possible, but not necessary, to restart the page numbers at the beginning of each essay. In the upper left corner of the page, insert your identification information. Type your name. In this case, our student is Billy Bob Jethro Gomer Goober Obadiah. He's from Mississippi. Your professor's name, the course name, and the date you are submitting your writing. Pay careful attention to line spacing. There are no single-spaced lines in an MLA formatted essay. There are no bolded titles in an MLA formatted essay. The title is centered, and the essay is double-spaced all the way through. And there are no skipped lines in an MLA formatted essay. Pay careful attention to punctuation. The punctuation of MLA formatting often bedevils students. Let's look at some examples. Write the titles of books, novels, plays, dramas, films, albums, academic journals, magazines, and newspapers in italics. If you need a reminder, think of these sources as the seminal thrash metal band Italica. Write the titles of academic articles, book chapters, short stories, poems, and songs in quotation marks. Pay careful attention to the spaces in the text of your essay. Type only one space between sentences. Typing 2 spaces between sentences is a holdover from using typewriters. And if you're unfamiliar with that word, a typewriter was like a very heavy laptop that could not connect to the internet. So in MLA formatting, type only one space between sentences. Also, pay careful attention to spacing around quotations and citations. Type one space between the end of the quotation and the beginning of the parenthetical citation. The final period of your sentence comes after the parenthetical citation and not inside the quotation. MLA requires you to cite the text exactly as it appears in the source. But MLA is not perfectly consistent. There are a few contradictions in MLA punctuation rules. First, the final period of your sentence comes after the parenthetical citation and not inside the quotation, even though this period may have been part of the original sentence. Second, extraneous punctuation, like commas that make your sentence more readable, are placed inside the quotation marks, even though this punctuation was not part of the original sentence. So, are these rules contradictory? Yes. Should you follow them anyway? Yes, please do. While journalism style guides, like the Associated Press style book and the New York Times style book, do not require the Oxford comma, most academic style guides, including MLA, APA, and Chicago style guides, do recommend using the Oxford comma. Also known as the serial comma, the Oxford comma is used after the penultimate term in a list. That is, the next to the last term in a list, before the conjunction and or. For example, with the Oxford comma, you would write, Jeff ate apples, pears, and bananas. The comma after the noun pears and before the conjunction and is the Oxford comma. The sentence without the Oxford comma would be, Jeff ate apples, pears, and bananas. In this context, the meaning of both sentences is clear. However, if you change the context, the meaning may become ambiguous. For example, with the Oxford comma, we invited the strippers, JFK, and Stalin. But without the Oxford comma, we invited the strippers, JFK, and Stalin. Aha! Without the Oxford comma, the sentence would suggest that the former leaders of the United States and the Soviet Union are themselves strippers. So, to avoid ambiguity, please use the Oxford comma in your writing in English in my courses. However, note this exception. If you are taking one of my Spanish courses, Spanish does not use the Oxford comma. Please use the Oxford comma when writing in English, but it is grammatically incorrect to use the Oxford comma when writing in Spanish. A carryover from the days of typewriters are the so-called dumb quotes, which are two vertical, straight quotation marks. Dumb quotes look the same at the beginning of a quotation as at the end of a quotation. In contrast, so-called smart quotes are curved inward toward the text inside the quotation. They look different at the beginning of the quotation and at the end of the quotation. In our age of advanced word processors, turn on the preference to always use smart quotes. In Google Docs, go to Tools, Preferences, and click Use Smart Quotes. For any other word processor, a quick Google search will give you instructions for turning on smart quotes. And if you paste text that inadvertently produces dumb quotes, with the smart quotes preferences enabled in Google Docs, simply type over the dumb quotes and smart quotes will appear in their place. In MLA formatting, the list of sources at the end is not the bibliography. Rather, it is titled Works Cited. As with the rest of the essay, all lines in the Works Cited page are double-spaced, and there are no skipped lines. If a bibliographic reference extends past the end of the first line, format all subsequent lines with a hanging indentation. In Google Docs, to set hanging indentations, first select the text. Then choose Format, Align and Indent, Indentation Options, Special Indent, and from the drop-down menu, choose Hanging. If you find that menu dance a little too Byzantine, you can set hanging indentations in the ruler. The rectangle controls the indentation of the first line. The upside-down triangle controls the indentation of the second, third, fourth, and all subsequent lines. If you are taking one of my Spanish courses, please note these formatting rules. The list of sources is Obras, citadas. Note the first word Obras is capitalized in Spanish, while the second word, citadas, is lowercase. Pay careful attention to the capitalization of titles in Spanish. The first word of a sentence, the first word of a title, and proper names are the only words that you capitalize in Spanish. All other words are lowercased. Always cite in the original language of your source. Do not translate the text that you cite. Google Docs does a decent job of catching simple grammar and diction mistakes in Spanish. Look for the blue squiggly line. Select the words to see its recommendation, and select the correction if applicable. It's a great way to improve your grammar and become a better writer. But be careful. Google cannot replace the human mind, at least not yet. So carefully reread and carefully edit your writing to correct common errors before submitting your final draft. Finally, I would like to offer some advice to improve your academic writing. Avoid using quotations that stand alone as their own sentences. In academic writing, quotations should support your ideas, rather than stand alone as self-evident facts. For example, you could start with your idea, and then support that idea with a quotation as a subordinate clause. Or, as a last resort, you can always add a short phrase to introduce the quotation so that it does not stand alone as its own sentence. In academic writing, avoid demonstrative pronouns. While common in spoken language, demonstrative pronouns are considered too informal for academic writing. Moreover, they tend to muddy your writing. For example, consider this sentence. Jimenez indicates that thinking about Granada causes her pain due to its melancholy memories and family connections. This indicates a positive association with Andalusia. In the second sentence, this is a demonstrative pronoun, which refers to causes her pain due to its melancholy memories and family connections. You can turn the demonstrative pronoun this into a demonstrative adjective by adding a noun, such as, this reaction indicates a positive association with Andalusia, or these emotions indicate a positive association with Andalusia. Another example. Spain has sought to amplify its European selfhood by distancing itself from African culture in an attempt to counter its historical exclusion from the West. To achieve this, Spain has engaged in a contemporary performance of hypercorrection. This is a demonstrative pronoun, which refers to distancing itself from African culture in an attempt to counter its historical exclusion from the West. You can turn the demonstrative pronoun this into a demonstrative adjective by adding a noun, such as to achieve this separation, or to achieve this objective, or even better, just cut the phrase entirely. By using a demonstrative adjective instead of a demonstrative pronoun, you will guide your reader with more specific prose and more expressive ideas. As William Strunk, of Strunk and White fame, who compiled the outstanding book on clear writing, The Elements of Style, famously intoned, "Omit needless words, omit needless words, omit needless words." Consider Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. At 272 words, Lincoln delivered the speech in just 3 minutes. But Lincoln had worked on the speech, editing, rewriting, revising, for weeks beforehand. TED Talks are limited to a maximum of 18 minutes to focus the ideas, to make the presentation more clear, and to make the presentation more compelling. Write freely and edit ruthlessly. Start writing, then edit. It's much easier to eliminate words on the page than to add them to the page in the first place. Arthur Quiller Couch once said, "Murder your darlings." In other words, good writing requires ruthless editing. Cut the big limbs first. Entire pages, paragraphs, or sentences. Then shake out the dead leaves, such as words and phrases. You can, and you will, always write more words. There is nothing special about the words you have written on a page. For example, Maxwell Perkins was a manuscript editor that edited the works of the early 20th century novelist Thomas Wolfe. Perkins remarked that Thomas Wolfe's manuscripts were so long that they could be delivered in a wheelbarrow. In one famous example, Perkins cut 4 pages of texts from Wolfe's novel, reducing those 4 pages into just 6 words. Henry, the oldest, was now 30. Now, of course, I'm not suggesting that you cut down your writing to make it unintelligible, but I am suggesting that wordiness obfuscates your ideas. In other words, never use 4 words when 3 words will suffice. As a writer, your job is to communicate your ideas clearly and intelligently to your readers. And cutting unnecessary words, unnecessary sentences, unnecessary paragraphs, even unnecessary pages will help you communicate more effectively. A great way to edit is to read your writing out loud. As you read, if something strikes you as odd to your ear, edit it. If you run out of breath when reading a sentence, it's probably too long. Edit it. In short, writing is editing. As you can see, academic formatting styles, be it the MLA or others you may work with during your college career, are all about details. As a writer, you must show that you can master these formatting details. Of course, with practice, these details become second nature. As always, if you have any questions or concerns, please contact me. Good luck.